Now let's just get right into it. So what do we know about the talismans? We know that Boyd was the one to find them, and that is how he was able to become sheriff of the town. They also state that the town was in chaos before Boyd had found them. It seems so far they have to be hung up for them to work, and they also have to keep the windows and doors shut or they can still get in. We also know that there are only 12 of them at the moment, and as for what they do, well, for right now, we know that they ward off the evil monsters that roam the city, but is that all that the talismans are capable of? We're not sure for the moment. Now, we do know that each talisman have the same runes of them, so bear with me a little bit. I'm going to try and break them down right now, so let's see what we got. But first, what is a rune and where do they originate from? So this excerpt is info from the University of Oslo, but it says runes are not a language but an alphabet. The old Germanic alphabet, each sign represents a sound. Runes were developed around the birth of Christ, probably in Scandinavia. By the year 500, they were also being used by Germanic peoples from the Black Sea in the south to Norway and England in the north. Initially, there were 24 runes in the alphabet. They were based on writing symbols, mainly Latin letters, used around the Mediterranean. Each sign had a name and a fixed place in the alphabet. The runic alphabet is called the Futhark, named after the first 6 runes. And I do apologize if I'm saying the names of the alphabet and these runes incorrectly. But the runes consist of mainly of vertical stabs and diagonal branches, and they have an angular look. But on the continent, runes ceased to be used relatively early. In England, they were used until around the year 1000, and there are several new letters were added to the alphabet. Runes were in use for the longest time in Scandinavia though. Here the alphabet was shortened and changed around the year 700. In the Viking Age, the runic alphabet had only 16 letters, with some runes representing several sounds. For example, K stood for K and G. The forms of many runes were also simplified. In the 1000s and 1100s, new runes were created, sometimes simply by adding a dot to one of the existing runic signs. The result in the High Middle Ages was a more extensive writing system which corresponded better to the sounds of the language. Runes stopped being used in Norway in the late Middle Ages, probably sometime in the 1400s. But now back to the theories. Now in the talismans and from, we see the same 8 runes around the perimeter of the talisman, and from what I can find, these are a mix of the Anzus runes, which means wisdom, guidance, or inspiration, and the other rune is the Lagus rune, which means the sea, ocean, or water. Now with these being combined, I'm not entirely sure what they can both mean. But let's jump to the runes that are in the center. Now these half circles that we see on the left and right, I personally don't think that these are runes, but just more like a representation of what is the sun and the moon. And I'm not sure what this represents in the old runic language, but let's continue. So in the direct center of the talisman, we see a collection of runes. Let's start with the ones in the middle. So this could either be 2 Quanon runes intersecting, and this rune means torch, fire, malady, or even death. Or it could be a Ingwan's rune, which means the god of Ingwans or Frey, or it could mean masculine energy. Now, the ones that look like it could be resembling in person could very well be runes as well, but these also look like they might consist of 2, so let's take a look at these as well. So it looks like it could be the long branch and the short branch of the Maor runes, which means humankind or mortality. But I wanted to say I'm not a runologist, and this is what I can find in my research. But we know that definitely these runes have to have some meaning in the show. But let's continue talking about the talismans. So normally they are used in religious practices in many different cultures. Depending on how and what were used to create them, it would charge the talisman with magical properties, and that would provide the owner with good luck or even the ability to protect them from evil and harm, a lot like what the ones in From do. Now we know Boyd finds them in the cave, but who created them in the first place? Who could have made these, and why were they in that cave? It can really be anything at the moment, but my best guess is that someone from a previous cycle had to make them. But here's my crazy theory on this. Remember when Jade in the finale talks about thermodynamics and how energy is neither destroyed or created, but it is just changed to fit whatever form it needs to be? What if the inhabitants of the town previously were changed into those talismans? Like their energy can't be evaporated or whatever, so they were swapped into the talismans. I'm not really sure how to explain that, but that's my working theory as for right now. I wanted to bring up the point as well that why haven't the characters in the show tried to make more of the talismans themselves? They would have to test it, which could cost someone their life, but maybe they can start carving the runes from the talismans around the town, like in the ground or in their walls of their building, to see if that could work. But you know, that will probably be too convenient for them. Lastly, I wanted to quickly touch on what I think this painting in this cave could be depicting. Back in season 2, in the episode, we see Victor and Tabitha come across multiple cave drawings in this episode, and that is when we see this one. And it looks like it could be some type of alien creature, definitely something otherworldly. But personally, I think it's going to be the main villain of the show, and the being that the original townspeople sacrificed their childs to. Now, to me, it looks like it could be some Lovecraftian monster, definitely something from the cosmic or other world. It could be Cthulhu or even some other being from that mythos. Let's now take a look at the drawing right beside it on the left. Could this be showing us how the children were all sacrificed? We see the symbol that Jade has been seeing throughout the whole entire show, and then a bunch of people, looks like maybe 8 on the bottom of it, with rectangle looking altars in front of them. Could those be the children? But then there are also 2 people on the left that looks like maybe were not participating in the ritual. I'm guessing that these are someone important, and maybe we'll find out who they could be at a later date. Maybe these are the people that try to go against the ritual, and also these could be the original creators of the talismans. But I definitely think it's the entity, because of this drawing is definitely depicting a sacrifice or some type of ritual, and then we see the big red monster on the side, like he is in control of them all, or at least gaining something out of it. But let me know what you guys think. And that will be all. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do some comparisons on tarot cards and how it might connect to From. So let's go ahead and get into it. We already talked about the Tower tarot card and how that could be referencing the lighthouse and From. So let's see if we can take it further with some other things. And in this video, I will be mainly focusing on the major arcana. So let's start with Boyd. He is like a ruler to the townspeople. He also was the one that brought the talismans to the town, in turn making to where the townspeople did not have to hide anymore. But out of the 22 major arcana cards, I think Boyd would be the Emperor, because the card is described as having leadership, power, or authority, someone or something that is on top of everything, and we see all of these qualities in Boyd the most. And as I'm making this video though, I'm starting to see why the Crows stopped them from doing the reading in season 3. There's too many parallels. But continuing on the next, we have the Magician. Now the Magician means when the moment requires it to tap into your full potential, and it also relates to energy potential and the manifestations of one's desires. And this one has to be Julie. We know because she is the only one who really has like a power that can really be used like this, and it will probably be the ability used to help the townspeople and probably save them as well. So her using that will save the town. And I think Jim relates closest to the Hangman card, and that card means ultimate surrender or sacrifice. It also teaches the importance of patience and gaining a new perspective in our lives. And Jim does struggle with this the most out of the show. He was trying to do all of these things to escape, disregarding everything else, and that also put his family in danger. He even struggles with trying to be a good father and husband as well. But he really didn't start to learn how to move correctly and act better as a father until right when he died. But next is Tabitha. She recently learned about her past and also some secrets of the town. She is a mother as well as a wife, so I think she would be the High Priestess tarot card. But it means spiritual knowledge, the subconscious mind, and the divine feminine. It also symbolizes the mysteries of ancient wisdom. Now the Fool has got to be Jade. The Fool is normally the protagonist of a story, and the rest of the major arcanas are what the character takes through life. But it also means mania, intoxication, and frenzy. And Jade goes through many of those trying to crack the hidden mysteries of the From Town, and that also caused the Man in Yellow to be released. We have yet to see how he will wreak havoc on the town though. We seen him kill Jim, and that's about it. And as for the Hermit, we know it's gotta be related to Victor the closest. The Hermit have meaning like dissemination, roguery, or corruption, but when you reverse this card, the meaning is disguise, concealment, and unreasoned caution. Now this is an interesting one, and if you've seen the video I've done on Victor, we know that he could be hiding a bunch of things from the town residents, very important things. So maybe Victor is actually not a good guy and is hiding his true nature. Now for the judgment card, we could probably use the people that sacrifice their children for eternal life to compare to that one. But the card means rebirth, judgmental karma, second chances, and the whole reason the people are in From are going through this is because the earlier townspeople sacrificed their children. But the world card is the From town itself. The card explains it is a ending of a cycle. It says it is a pause in life before the next big cycle that starts with the Fool again. But it said it also represents cosmic consciousness. And this next one I have talked about previously, but the lighthouse is in reference to the tower card, and we see on the art of the card that they are some people falling out of the tower, just like Tabitha did, that we see in the season 2 at the very end of it. And it can mean a lot of bad things like misery, deception, ruin. It usually means a unforeseen catastrophe, and we heard the boy in white tell Tabitha, sorry, this is the only way. Maybe he could have been talking about the consequences of pressing her out, which got to Jim being killed. So that could have been the unforeseen event at the time. But let's continue. We have the strength card, and on it is a woman taming a lion, but it seems to mean inner strength and being able to not use brute force but gentle power to overcome your challenges. And I think this could be Donna. We know that she is a little like this because she doesn't like to show weakness in front of other people. She always like walks out of the room to, like, if she has to cry or cries, she just doesn't do it in front of other people. And she is always calm most of the time in situations like we've seen happen throughout the show. She's normally the one that can be reasoned with and a little level-headed. And the lovers have to obviously be Fatima and Ellis. They are really the diehard couple of the show, but maybe it could either be Mario or Chrissy, but I really think it is Fatima and Ellis. But the card means deep connections, attractions, and also the concept of choice in relationships. And Fatima and Ellis probably have the healthiest relationship that we see in the show. We see how far he almost went for her in season 3, but instead Sarah went and did the dirty work for everybody. But I honestly think there are even more than these that I have went over in the show. If this revelation about the show is anything more than inspiration, this further drives the theory that they might be in a giant game, and these cards would definitely represent the role that each resident or character has, and maybe they do hold some type of power that the town doesn't want them to know about. I still find it super weird that they were stopped by the crow when they were doing the reading on Fatima, and then Tilly was killed right after that. And each cycle could be a start of a new game, or maybe if everyone dies, they just start from the beginning over again, and that's when the new cycle starts. But that could also explain why someone is immediately replaced when a person dies in the town to possibly fill up the roles that each tarot card represent. But how do you guys feel about this? Is it off the mark? And is there anything else that I missed that you might know? So we know that the faraway trees are still kind of a mystery to the viewers, and especially to the characters in From. But from what we have seen, it looks like the tree is random in how it teleports people. We see it happen a few times throughout each season, but I think it's actually not random, and there are ways it can be used to technically like choose where they want to go, but I feel like it's more of a subconscious thing, at least for right now. But I wanted to talk about quickly how the whole forest has magical properties, I think, and not just the faraway trees. So in season 1, we know Boyd tries to go out in the forest to find more resources for the town, and he's out for a little too long, and nightfall hits. So he hides in the cave where he finds the talismans, and the monsters don't attack him when they show up. Another example could be the dog that has helped Boyd twice in the show, and then the dog disappears. We don't really see him after that, and we know that the dog has helped Victor before as well, because there have been some drawings that we see in this show that depicts that dog as well. But there's also the time when Boyd and Sarah were in the forest, and they come across the place with all of the spider webs, and we can see Abby was entangled in all of the spider webs and screaming for help. And I'm bringing up these examples to segue into this book that was written in 1939, and it was written by Enid Blyton. It's called The Faraway Tree, and it's a series of short stories. And the first one talks about how a group of kids, Joe, Beth, and Franny, recently moved to a town where there's a large forest near them, but they find out by the residents that the town is called the Enchanted Wood, and it's like a magical forest. And eventually the kids go down to the forest, and they actually do discover a group of elves, and reveals to them that the forest actually is magical and enchanted. But the elves tell them that a gnome has stole the items from them, some papers, and they all choose to go and chase after the gnome. And the gnome eventually travels up a tree, and while they climb the tree, they learn that this tree inhabits a bunch of beings and creatures, and the tree is about as tall as the clouds in the sky. And once they reach the top, the gnome goes through a portal or some sorts, and it says that it's a portal to some magical land that has a bunch of things that you would not normally see in the normal world from where they come from. So they eventually learn that this portal changes every time that they reach the top of this tree, and some of the lands that they go to are very unpleasant as well. But I think a lot of what we've heard and what I've read from this book is very similar to how not just the Faraway Tree, but how almost like what's going on and from the city and the town aspect of it as well. And I also wanted to talk about how, what if the lighthouse operates in the same way that the top of the tree does, where when they see the lighthouse, that is like an entry to a new town, kind of like how when Tabitha flies out of the lighthouse, she gets teleported to Maine, I do believe is where it was. And I'm thinking, since she arrived back in the town, like the next episode, that wasn't the real world, she was still in the town. But let me know what y'all think about all of that. But before we go any further, I wanted to talk about the main reason of this video. I think the trees have rules just like the rest of the town, and I don't think that the trees choose randomly to where to place people once they enter. I think the trees teleport you to where you mostly want to go, like the thing that you, at the time when entering the tree, where you mostly want to go, is the best way to explain that. Except for Dale, he was trying to escape out of the town, so I think that is why he was just killed and stuck inside of the pool, because I like to think of the town as a big game that they are inside of, and if he tried to do that, it will technically be like trying to cheat the game by just escaping through the Faraway Tree when they're supposed to be used in another manner. But when Tabitha enters the tree trying to save the Ankui kids, she gets teleported to the lighthouse, and that's when she is able to at least leave this from town, and which I think at least, and she enters another one, but she's able to find more information about Victor's dad, which eventually leads her to finding the truth about her past and the cycles that she has already lived. And also, when Victor is trying to explain the trees to Ethan, he tosses a ball in the portal, and the ball just falls like 10 feet away from them. So it's like you have to know exactly what you want, and just then you try to go through the tree, and that's when it gives it to you. But even if it's like in a way that you don't see it at first, like for example, when Boyd teleports through the tree, the whole reason why they were there in the woods was to find answers and figure out like how they can, just escape or at least fight back. and Boyd gets teleported to Martin, and like that could be the tree or the forest trying to tell him that you need to see him, and Martin does eventually give him that infection, which leads to them able to kill one of the monsters. But there are many more examples of this, and in season 4, I think the faraway trees will probably be the key on how they're going to have to travel now, since the man in yellow, it seems like that he's able to just do whatever he wants, and he's going to be traveling in the daytime as well. But what do y'all think about all of these theories? Also, I'm hoping in season 4 that maybe the trees will lead them to a weapon to combat the man in yellow, maybe, or something to be able to hide from it better. I don't know, but I want to read and speculate about the lighthouse. I've talked about it previously, but I wanted to make a video where I focused on it. But let's go ahead and just jump right into it. The first time we ever see the lighthouse is when Tabitha has that vision where she's walking up to the tower stairs and she's grabbing these random kids' toys, which I think are her son's, Ethan's, and she also can hear like a baby crying as well as she's making her way up the stairs. But she sees a bunch of dates on the wall as well, and we see Jim is like hanging from the top. He's upside down as well. And again in season 1, Boyd and Sarah are exploring the forest, and they see a light and hear loud noises as well. But they eventually find out that it's the lighthouse, and I don't really know how they came across it. Looked like it all happened randomly, but we'll see probably more of that in season 4. And in season 2, Victor is showing Tabitha the drawings that they find in his mom's Miranda's car, and Victor says that Eloise is the one that drew these pictures, and one of them was a drawing of the lighthouse. And after Tabitha recognizes it, she asks Victor what that place is, and he says that is the place that Miranda went the night that she died. And this time someone actually enters the lighthouse. Tabitha decides to go because her daughter and a few others were being severely affected by the music box monster. But Victor takes her to the bottle tree that night, and she teleports to the entrance of the lighthouse. And she thinks that if she can save the kids, then all of the evil stuff that's happening to the residents of the town will stop. But when she's there, we can hear the kids, we can hear their voices, and they're still saying and cooey as she's climbing up to the top. And as she reaches the top, the boy in white pushes her off and apologizes, saying that this is the only way. And Tabitha wakes up in the normal world after that. Now, I wanted to talk about how to enter the lighthouse, but in season 1, on the last episode, we see Boyd and Sarah get dragged across the forest by something. And that could be a gatekeeper of some sort that is protecting the entrance of the lighthouse. From what we've seen, the only time someone has successfully made it there is through the bottle tree, as we see with Tabitha. And it looks like in the flashback that we see in season 3, we know Miranda in this moment was trying to reach the lighthouse, but she is stopped by Smiley. And it looks like he's protecting the entrance as well. But we really don't know if it's the entrance to the bottle tree or the lighthouse. They don't really show any of that in the background or anything like that. But I am assuming that it is a tree, and I say this because I think the only way to get to the lighthouse is through the bottle tree, and also it has to be nighttime. And I also think that that is the reason why the monsters come out at night. And I think that this is the only reason that they decided to come out at night as well. There's no other reason. And a example of this that can further back the theory that I got is we see Dale in season 3 enter the tree, and also this is during the daytime as well, and he is transported to the inside of the pool, so he and killed as well. And also Boyd does enter not the bottle tree, but a faraway tree, and that time it is at night, but he doesn't get teleported to the lighthouse. Instead, he gets teleported to the bottom of that dry well. And that one, the reason why I think it didn't work that time because it wasn't the bottle tree, but he did do it at night, so maybe there is a little bit of the reason why he didn't get killed outright. I'm not too sure there, but let me know what y'all think about that. So with all that said, what is so important about the lighthouse that it needs to be protected at night? Let's try to speculate some things, but my crazy first guess is that the tower could be a way to visit the real world and try and bring some help back. It's just that when Tabitha had the chance she didn't really know what was going on. And I like to think of it like this: when Tabitha was kicked out of the lighthouse that first time, she was able to escape. At least that's what it seemed like, but ultimately ends back up in the town because the members or the townspeople of the town have like some type of tether or connection to the town that keeps them there. And I think the only way they really will be able to escape is if they free that children or break the curse of the children somehow, whatever that might be. The lighthouse could also be the actual place that they sacrifice the children as well. And it could be being guarded by the night monsters because there are probably a bunch of clues and information about a number of things about the town and maybe even how to escape for real. And the dates could be the years these cycles begin, these dates that we see on the wall, or maybe the numbers could be each year that a group of children was sacrificed to the entity. And when Tabitha is in the tower, we can hear like the children saying Ankui and babies crying as well. So maybe that is the case. But maybe the lighthouse is what they used in the past to trap the people from previous cycles, and in turn, maybe they can use it to escape as well. That could be the main entrance and exit for this like alternate world that they're in as well. And if this is the case, that has to be the main reason that Smiley was so gung-ho about protecting the entrance when Miranda was trying to reach it. But I wanted to end with this. The tower in the show could honestly just be used for symbolic or metaphorical purposes. And if we take a look at the Tower Tarot card, in most cases it depicts a tower being struck by lightning, set ablaze, and then we see people jumping out of the tower as well. And the Tower card is a major arcana card, and it means a sudden change or upheaval in someone's life, and most of the time it is not a good change and a unavoidable one. Now, so far we can already make some connections. We know, just like in the picture here of this card, Tabitha jumps out of the tower, or she is rather pushed out, and then she's back in the new, well, I guess old world, the normal world. And her being in the new world could be the certain change that the description of the tarot card talks about. But I personally don't think that this is it. I think that the sudden change or unavoidable one as well could be when Jim died, and now Tabitha has discovered the truth about her past, and that, I mean, that is a major change for her. You know, all of that actually, like, it changes. Her whole life is completely flipped around now. And also another example of the avoidable events could be Jim's death, because we see her go back to try to save him at the end of season 3, and he dies anyway. So that probably was not her first time trying to do that. And that also pushes the point further when Ethan says that she's not able to change the stories that are already written. But let me know what you guys think about all these theories, and I thank you all for watching, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one, guys.